quickly before we get the show started. You have to listen to this. This is from the Energy and Commerce Health Subcommittee hearing that just happened this week in pharmacy.
Mr. Hoey, I want to thank you for the work that pharmacists do. When I think about my father who died when I was 23, he was always going into our local pharmacist, and who knew our family by name, who dispensed a drug temporarily if the insurance company hadn't filled it. And so I want to thank you for the work. You have also mentioned some of the problems and some of the concerns. One of them you talked about was horizontal and vertical consolidation. Most people watching today don't know what that means. I have a chart, and if you can see it from there, this is a chart, if we can pan out here, where those at the top own both the insurance company, the PBM, the pharmacy, and the provider. So can you explain to the American public what this means for them in pricing?
Yes, and Congresswoman, I'm sorry for your loss. And our members are that is the type of work our members do, is have those relationships with patients. To your question about the vertical integration and consolidation, what it means to patients is that patient, frankly, is controlled. Their healthcare journey from the time they see the doctor, get a prescription, get that prescription filled, maybe have to go to decide which health system, which hospital. There are three entities that control that journey because they're all the same. So for example, CVS Aetna, CVS, people think about the brick and mortar pharmacies. That's probably the smallest part of their business. They own Aetna, which is the health insurer, and they own Caremark, which is the PBM. So if a patient is prescribed a prescription, the doctor or the pharmacist is sometimes overruled by the PBM because the PBM makes more money off of a different drug. So the PBMs are actually practicing medicine. That's one stage. Then the patient is trying to get their drug, and the PBM can either block it or require a prior authorization, or they can say, patient, you cannot go to that pharmacy. You can only go to my specialty pharmacy. So every step of the way through the vertical integration, the patient choices are compromised. And when those patient choices are compromised, there's less competition and higher prices.
Thank you. I yield back.
Gentlelady.
Incredible, incredible, incredible. This is going to be part of TWIRx Today, TWIRx News. Stephen Beckman, CEO of Eury Pharma. We're going to be getting into TWIRx News. Can't wait to get started.
And now, here's our host and founder of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, Todd Eury.
Hey there, hey there.
Welcome to This Week in Pharmacy. TWIRx is the #1 weekly talk show about the profession of pharmacy. And now, here's our host and founder.
I am here, Todd Eury, founder of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. It's so good to be here with you. This is TWIRx for February 13th, 2026. It's the day before Valentine's Day. I hope you're thinking about that. Regardless if you are in a relationship, it's a time to just show your love for somebody. Just reach out to someone you haven't talked to in a while, or send them a text, or say you just want to get together with them and get a slice of cheesecake, preferably vanilla bean cheesecake with the strawberries and strawberry drizzle. And that would be what I want. I got my roses here on the studio. These are fake, thank goodness. I have to put water in them, and we are twerksing for Valentine's Day. This is a good time to celebrate what's happening in our profession, but we do always start out with TWIRx News first. And today we have a co-host again that is not a stranger to TWIRx. Welcome back to the studio, Mr. Stephen Beckman.
Hi, Todd. How are you? Good morning. Happy day before Valentine's Valentine's Day, and I have to say that intro's got me hungry, given that I didn't have breakfast yet.
That's what you got to make sure you stay fueled up. And we are we're in the same area. Stephen and I live pretty close to each other, and you've been in the studio before, and it's gonna jettison up to 50s and 60s coming up this week, and I'm welcoming it, but I'm not trusting it. I have trust issues with southwestern Pennsylvania weather at this time of year.
I agree, but we'll take all the good positive vibes, because hopefully we'll start staying above freezing here now, which will be great for everybody.
Absolutely. All right. Today's TWIRx is the Valentine's Day feature special. In this, we're titling this a Pharmacy Love Story in celebration of Valentine's Day. We're welcoming two very special guests. We're going to have Dr. Mark and Dr. Gretchen Garofoli, both PharmDs, whose story has been very powerful. I think these are two extremely special people. They raised two children, their leadership network in the pharmacy associations, podcast hosting, professional advocacy, academic leadership at WVU School of Pharmacy. They both went to Pitt. I mean, you know this guy, Stephen, and I can't wait to hear this interview coming up.
Yeah, Mark's a great guy. I haven't had the opportunity to meet his better half, but I'd have to think if he's a good guy, she's even better.
Yep, two good people. All right. We're also going to be shifting gears over to Dr. Mark Fulton later up in the show. We're going to be doing Love Potion, a historical report from a pharmacist that digs into love potions. You ever use any love potions, Stephen?
No, maybe a good cologne, but no specific love potion. But maybe I need to think about that a little bit more. I'll take all the help I can get.
Listen, your background in the pharmaceutical industry, let's go find some researchers to refine the pheromone just for men's cologne, because women don't need to be any more attractive than they are, but men need help. And we could come up with a pheromone or something like that in our...
Well, you're definitely correct. Men need all the help we can get. So that's something we might have to go talk. I'll go talk to our R&D guys and see if we could build off a separate area of development for the future of all mankind, or men.
Exactly. We need it. All right. Our last segment is Innovation Spotlight. We love innovating technology and kind of drilling down into what's happening. Rx transfer and the future of interoperability. We're going to welcome back Dr. Lawrence King, who was one of our Pharmacy 50 award winners this year, Stephen. He's the Vice President of Product Innovation at SureScripts, and that's up.
Yeah, I remember that. What a great program that was. And it was great to be a part of that as your co-host. But I'll tell you, in the 3 years that you've done it, the growth of it, and I've had the opportunity to speak to some of the winners post that podcast, and it was... they were excited. They were and appreciative. I think it is resonating through this community, the importance of that acknowledgement and awards. So keep up the great work with that, because it's only going to get bigger and bigger and better as we go forward. I can't wait. Hopefully be hosted next year when we double the numbers of entries and we see that program just take on a whole new life.
Thank you so much for being part of it. And thank you. Shout out to Ural Pharma for being our premium sponsor, and what you guys did and the attention that you took was a big deal. So and to your social team shared it and really helped us reach a segment of the pharmaceutical industry that we weren't getting. And we got more votes because of that we're pulling in our MSLs and our pharma people. And I think that's a big deal.
Well, I think I agree with you. I think, it's all interdependent at the end of the day. If we're all working across all the different teams and organizations that actually influence the supply chain from manufacturer to patient, it can only be a good win. And, I believe if you're going to talk it, you got to walk it. So, we've made a commitment to pharmacy channel as a whole, as an organization, and in particular, independent pharmacy. So this was an easy decision to make, to sponsor an event that is raising the profile and the discussion and discord.
Well, we have TWIRx
all the important
news.
people within the pharmacy delivery channel.
We got TWIRx news coming up. So We are going to shift to some stories, Stephen. I'm glad you're here because I really want to hear what you have to say about this. It's time for TWIRx News. All right, Stephen, first up, the one that, really got me going this week, and it's just my background. When I entered pharmacy 2004, I'm getting old. It was in pharmacy technology. It was in selling Framework LTC to long-term care pharmacies throughout the country. And what an exciting time it was, where you were moving from a character-based system that had no interconnection to anything else other than the data that was in that software. And the character-based system and Framework was the first pharmacy system in the history of our pharmacy profession to concentrate on long-term care with a SQL-based background, which means now you could plug other stuff into it. So being part of the technology realm in pharmacy, I always place very close attention to what's happening with our pharmacy management systems, what's happening with their integration and APIs to collecting more data from the EHR systems. So TA, which is the funding company for Red Cell Technologies, the TA and Associates, just made an announcement this week in pharmacy that they completed the sale of PharmRx to Red Cell Technologies. And just for the listeners' background, if you don't know Red Cell Technologies, they've gobbled up 4 or 5 pharmacy management systems over the last 10 years. And it's all rolling up now into Red Cell, as well as logistics programs, logistics and transportation software like RX Mile, which is covering, I think, half the nation now, Stephen. But what do you think of? You get all these systems rolling up, and in my opinion, there's just too many that are now being rolled up into one entity.
Well, it is interesting because on the good side, we always want more data, more technology working favorably, especially for pharmacy. I think one of the things that's always held some pharmacy back is they really haven't had the tools to analyze their business or manage their business more effectively. So when we see the integration of data and availability, that to me is a good thing. But with every good thing, there's also the potential for some challenges, and the challenges is it being all consumed into one entity or organization. And I don't think anybody would argue that that's not always a good thing for many reasons. So I think we have to be very cautious about this and make sure it is creating the value that it really needs to deliver, right? And I think what it really needs to deliver is to create pharmacies to be more effective across the board in everything that they do. And ultimately that has to translate to the patient. So, so I think time will tell. I do see and hear your reservations a little bit. And I think that ultimately what we have to do is we have to enter this in an idea to make sure that the pharmacies is pushing back to make sure that this was working for them, not against them. Because otherwise, and there's other examples that we don't have to deliberate, but we know that when there's few suppliers, that causes certain challenges or influences that they have over their customers. And in this particular case, that would be the pharmacy. And we have to make sure that the pharmacy is working better. Mm-hmm. And in spirit, this concept of integrating data should, but it also, depending on how it's delivered, managed, and so forth, could take away some of that benefit if it's not done well.
Yeah, and understanding PharmRx, I know their team. I've worked with their team, definitely in their marketing department. I've interviewed Caden Mehta. He's the chief executive officer, the CEO of PharmRx. If TA Associates, if Red Cell Technologies leaves Caden and his team in place, I could see a lot of good coming from this, in my opinion, because of the spirit of PharmRx, led by Caden and his team, and how he empowers his team. Because I know, based on watching him talk with pharmacy owners, engage with pharmacy owners, listen and learn from pharmacy owners and operators, that not only do the customers trust him, but they also but he in turn looks to the customer base to fuel what is the future of pharmacy management systems and technology, and where do we need to be competitive. So if that happens, if they leave that in place, and that's what I'm saying, I always see in these mergers, they take out some of the most key people. And an example of that is Mr. Jeff Key. Jeff Key was the CEO of oh goodness gracious.
Well, while you're thinking about
Yeah.
that, I think your point is well taken. So look at, the good thing is the
Pioneer.
integration of information so that you,
Pioneer.
there you got it. But I think the point that you're making is an important one. I mean, look at integration of data and being able to see it in an aggregate, is important, because then we can get a more clear or deeper picture or broader picture. But even within that content, there's specialty, expertise.
Yes.
In those different areas that you're integrating. So your point well taken. If you take that expertise out and assume that it can just be managed universally across the board, that's where you're going to lose a lot of that value that you're speaking about.
It's the sweet sauce. Exactly. It is. In
Yep.
organizations, the big organizations, billions, trillions of dollars accessible, TA and Associates, huge organization. They are very, very good at getting the most profit out of their entities, because that's their jobs. They're to extract, and they want to do it in a way that is long term, as long as possible, so they can get the most out of their investment as they can. And those kinds of organizations, they squeeze the sauce, they squeeze the sweetness of why. You know what? There's an organization, Stephen, I'm not sure if you know this, PDS, Pharmacy Development Services, Dan Benamos. This guy invented the first marketing organization that helped independent community pharmacies, as well as extension of long-term care and other things, to market their services. And for 12 years, this organization thrived and had the biggest conference in all of pharmacy marketing ever, with the amount of attendees. And Dan Benamos, when he took stage, it was kind of like an industry star. He was just a star, but he was very sincere, and that's why people, really loved him. Organization came in, big investment, because of how much money that this organization was pumping out through this conference, and they bought the company. And within 18 months, it was over. It shut down because the sweet sauce was extracted and pulled out. And that's what I'm talking about. Mergers.
Yeah. Well, business doesn't have to be that hard, right? In this particular case, objectives have to align. And, internal business objectives of the organization, achieving the value proposition that they delivered down to their customer, has to have alignment. When that doesn't happen, as the example you just highlighted, things will happen. Yeah. So I think it's great that you're raising this particular event. I think it's it could be exciting, but ultimately it comes down on execution, like most things in life. If you execute it right and objectives are aligned, and they don't lose the value proposition or the essence of what each of those components are bringing into something that could be more valuable if presented right, then Let's keep our fingers crossed that's what happens.
Exactly. Hey, good news. So we mentioned this on TWIRx last week. This news came out at the end of January, and it was nationally known that now Walmart is going to be boosting pay for pharmacy technicians, and they're also going to elevate their roles and responsibilities. This could be inventory specialists, or this could be marketing specialist, or account management, or patient organization. Logistics is becoming a big role in pharmacy technicians, where they're laying out delivery pathways with software. But Stephen, the reason why I'm bringing this back up for the second TWIRx in a row is because I see this as a ripple effect and a domino effect to the entire industry that will raise the opportunities for career pharmacy technicians, not technicians that are like, I just need a job and I used to work at Wendy's and now I want to work as a technician because it's a more professional environment, although techs in community pharmacies get beat up by the consumers. But anyway, I see this as a ripple effect for the entire profession to really center more attention and more investment in what techs can do.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, this is really, really good news. And I think there's a number of things that we can layer into this. First of all, if you create a position that has value, not only in terms of compensation, but sense of value that they get in terms of helping people becoming more important within the ecostructure of that pharmacy, all those things are great things. Now, if a tech can now start doing some of the roles that been maybe traditionally put on the pressure on a pharmacist, then, well, what could that be? Well, maybe the pharmacist now has a little bit more time, and the pharmacist can now get back to engaging with patients a little bit more equitably between techs and pharmacists, and the delivery of that care to the patient at the pharmacy is going to improve. And I think ultimately everybody would want that. Patients obviously would benefit from that and be excited for that. Pharmacists, I think, would love to be back into having the ability to have a greater level of engagement with the patients. You're making the pharmacy techs, which, over the last couple podcasts we've talked a lot about pharmacy techs and how important they are. So the fact that they're getting that spotlight on them, and they're getting what ultimately will be an opportunity to build value and credibility and output to what they do in their job, is a win-win for everybody. So, and when that does, it's, to your point, it's going to trickle back up. It's going to give us ability to interact with pharmacy. It's going to continue to make pharmacy stronger. And I think there's no doubt anybody that is around pharmacy knows that pharmacy has to continue to make its way back and be stronger, especially independent pharmacy. We've got a lot of changes just in the last year on the national level, on the independent level, and patients need pharmacy. The healthcare system needs pharmacy. And what a great example. And obviously, Walmart, being as the organization they are and the influence they have, if a leader takes a step in something like this, hopefully there'll be a lot of fast followers, and that we'll see that benefit and ripple across all of pharmacy, and that would be a great, great outcome.
I agree. And I've learned a lot more about the technician, as well as the pathway for the technicians, from Mike Johnston, who is the founder of the National Pharmacy Technician Association. Mike, at no surprise, has been on the Pharmacy 50 list twice, and his influence as a pharmacy technician himself, and how seriously he took the role of investing in techs and helping to refine the certification now that techs can get. A technician can now get the CPHT, the Certified Pharmacy Technician, degree or certificate. And you have to go through so much schooling, and you have to understand different components. What you are now creating is techs who become supportive to MSLs, techs that are supportive to specialty disease states and understanding workflow, techs that are now tied into prior authorization, sales and marketing, inventory management, working at a generics company because they have so much business acumen, understanding of what's going on. So the point is, and the excitement for me, just looking at so many technicians that take their careers so seriously, is pharmacies that invest in their techs are going to make more money. And it's an opportunity to make more money for your business while empowering your tech to take this career and let them know they have every ability to do whatever they want to build business and build connection and build delivery systems of healthcare to their communities.
Well, I think your point is really insightful from the standpoint, there's a couple things that are going to happen, right? If we go back to even to the Pharmacy 50 or some of the other podcasts we've done, one of the resounding messages that continues to come through is that pharmacy is going to continue to expand. And when we say expand services. And the pharmacy tech is going to be a big part of those services that any individual pharmacy might or might not deploy within their community. So that's one. But the second thing that I think is exciting is that if you probably asked most pharmacy techs 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there wasn't a career path for pharmacy techs. You had a job, you fell right within the same bucket of what you did every day, but now within the pharmacy, it's going to grow, or even potentially grow outside. And I think one of the points you made is pretty interesting. How we recruit MSLs in the pharmaceutical industry has been fairly consistent, but now all of a sudden, when you think about building a MSL team for an organization and bringing somebody out through a pharmacy pathway versus maybe the traditional pathway, it's fantastic. So you really have the ability to see this as a great stepping stone to build within pharmacy or even to build outside of pharmacy. And wow, I mean, what kind of power and enthusiasm will that create for those high achievers that can see the possibility, to your point? And I think that's what's going to be really exciting.
Practicing what you preach. It's what I do. I can't stand talking about something or saying that I'm going to do something and not being able to execute it. And because of how hyperactive I am, that's been a struggle because I want to do more. And sometimes you can only run so fast. But the NPTA has made investments into continuing education for pharmacy technicians. They're having a new continuing education webinar, and I really like this subject, preventing medication errors at discharge. My goodness gracious. But think of this. You have your pharmacist in your hospitals. They know the patient's discharging. They make all the decisions as they should. Now the products are handed over, packaging happens. Now you have technician training, one more layer of everything that the pharmacist assured. You have another layer of assurance by having our technicians help to prevent medication errors at discharge and the communication between the tech.
Yeah, and akin to this is that in many states now, and for the last 10 years, pharmaceutical sales representatives had to be certified now.
Yes.
And we're starting to see a lot more of that. It's not national yet, but it's something that's going to happen. So, certifying any individual that is delivering insight and management of healthcare to patients to make sure that they're qualified and we're eliminating any kind of errors or miscommunication or misinformation is a great thing.
Yep. Sticking to the hospital system.
So, Todd, just a friendly reminder, my friend, I've got about 10 minutes left before I have to jump. I got my day job knocking at the door, so surely want to address any of the other topics on TWIRx. Otherwise, you're going to have to bring home the news on your own.
I'll have to TWIRx without you. No, just quickly, I just want to shout out to the ASHP and their foresight highlights in financial, technological, and climate changes. This is a great report. We're going to have a link in the show notes to it. Take a look over at the importance of this information and research. And then this week in pharmacy, we know that the health subcommittee, lowering healthcare costs for all Americans, an examination of the prescription drug supply chain. This is pretty exciting that we're getting major attention.
Well, this is big news. This is big news. We've been talking about our system in the U.S. and drug supply chain in the U.S. for decades. It started in back rooms or convention halls in the hallway or at dinners, and I think everybody knows that there's need for improvement, need for some change, and that change is really important because ultimately it's to do what everybody talks of. I don't care what your political background is, who you are. The goal is to make healthcare accessible to patients in the U.S. And to do that better, we got to continue to examine the value chain of healthcare, not only prescription drugs and things like that, but the delivery of healthcare as a whole. And we got to make sure that it's working well throughout the system. That means from A to Z. That means from the front end of it to the back end, and the back end of it ultimately is the goal because that's the patient. So we need to make sure it's working in a way that all components, from manufacturer to provider to distributor, wholesaler, PBM, insurance, pharmacy, and patient, it's working in a way that ensures that there's balance and we alleviate a lot of the pressure points that is causing stress. And pharmacy is a great one. There's many pharmacies that are struggling to keep their doors open because of how this system impacts their ability to deliver based on reimbursement. And that is influenced by all those other factors that we talk about. And then ultimately, the patient suffers a little bit. The pharmacy can suffer a lot as well. And that's what we want to take away. We got to find a supply chain or supplies of healthcare that is going to be balanced in a way. And I think ultimately what you're seeing in this is that it's now going to be given a closer look, which I think is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because the good thing is that we'll find some areas. Not everything's going to be fixed.
Right.
And it might not, it's surely not going to happen tomorrow, but now the discussion is getting broader and people are finally understanding. They might not understand all the elements to it and where the real pain points are, but they know that there are pain points and there is the opportunity for improvement. And I think that's ultimately what we're going to see, whether it takes 1 year or 10 years. But if we're finally really starting to get momentum, then everybody's going to have to play a part. It doesn't make a difference, who you are. Everybody's going to have to play a part, and there's going to have to be some changes from manufacturers of drugs to the PBMs that basically drive how the pricing with the payers, to how the wholesalers distribute product, and then how pharmacists can deliver and so forth. So I believe that evaluating what you're doing with the goal of making it better is never a bad thing, even if it causes some pain along the way. And that's what we should be doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I really appreciate that insight, Stephen. If you haven't watched this and you're in healthcare, you're a pharmacist, a technician, someone in business, go to YouTube. I'll have a link in the show notes and just go scan through it and listen to Buddy Carter, listen to Doug Huey, pharmacist who runs the NCPA, the National Community Pharmacists Association. He's brilliant because now he can take all of the information that has been publicly put out there. Everybody knows what the truth is. It's black and white. And he helped kind of craft this in this subcommittee meeting. And this is going to really help to accelerate the way that pharmacists and pharmacy gets paid. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at, it doesn't matter whether you're going to school or you're working for a living or any industry that we look at. We always want to try to find a way to make it better. Yeah. Better is a good thing. Better is a great thing when we're talking about patients.
Yep.
When I got into this industry, I had opportunities to work in flooring and beverage and other industries. And I picked this industry because my ultimate goal was to be involved with the industry that I could contribute something good to the world in some way. And in this particular case is I've been in the industry for over 30 years trying to help the outcome for patients. And whether you're a pharmacist, physician, manufacturer, insurer, whoever you are, hopefully ultimately at the end of the day, we don't lose sight of that our industry is predicated on making sure that we improve the quality of life of patients. And that's a good thing. And if we can do it better than we're doing today, then let's find those solutions.
All right, Stephen Beckman, Eury, the CEO of Eury Pharma. Thanks for being with me and going through TWIRx news today. We really appreciate you. Have a good
Hey, Todd, we appreciate you. What you're doing is special and important, and don't ever lose sight of that. Keep it going. The community understands and seeing this platform as a way to educate, motivate, and move things forward. And for that, you're doing a great job. So happy Valentine's to you. I know you have some people in your life that will be special, they'll get some attention, as will mine. And I agree with you. Everybody out there, please call an old friend. Don't forget your parents. Spend a little extra time with your kids if they'll let you. But just push out a little bit of love tomorrow and all weekend long, I think would be a good thing.
Hey, we'll be right back with more TWIRx.
As frontline healthcare providers, pharmacists like you understand the importance of personalized care, especially in acute pain management. Eury Pharma is dedicated to providing high-quality, generic products tailored to meet your patients' needs. The company aims to serve a diverse range of patient populations, including athletes recovering from intense training, weekend warriors managing minor injuries, and those seeking a practical and mess-free option for acute pain management. Keep your all in your toolbox of pain management options and join the ranks of pharmacists leading the way in personalized care. To learn more about Ural Pharma and its products, including full prescribing information, boxed warnings, and important safety information, visit uralpharma.com. That's YARAL pharma.com and connect with them on LinkedIn.
Motion number 9. Motion number 9.
Hi, this is Dr. Mark from RxTales. Valentine's Day is almost here, and it has more to do with pharmacy than you might think. Romance and drugs go hand in hand. I mean, we even call those feelings of attraction chemistry. But did you know that love potions are a real thing? Well, sorta. Drugs aren't magic. They can't literally make someone fall in love. That part is a fairy tale. But they do play a big role in fueling the fires of passion. And all that starts in our brain. When we experience an emotional connection to another person or a physical connection, our brains are releasing powerful chemicals that make us feel good. Serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, oxytocin. Whether it's the natural release from a pleasurable stimulus, like a hug, we're keeping this PG-13, or an artificial surge from rolling on ecstasy at Burning Man, these homegrown love drugs enable us to catch all the feels. A lot of love potions from ancient times were actually various preparations of one or more species of plant from the nightshade family. Things like belladonna, henbane, mandrake, and datura. These plants all contain atropine, a drug that causes some of the same effects that we get when we have a crush on someone. Starry eyes, faster heartbeat, delirious hallucinations. But just like a bad romance, too much atropine can be toxic or even fatal. Another drug that's been popularized over the years is something called Spanish fly. Now, you may have seen this at your local truck stop restroom vending machine, but I'm talking about the real thing here. The Spanish fly, or blister beetle, is a real insect, Lida vesicatoria. Now, these little guys developed a reputation as an aphrodisiac due to a rather toxic chemical called cantharidin. Okay, quick insect lesson. During copulation, the male blister beetle secretes cantharidin and offers it to the female blister beetle as a sort of gift, which she then uses to cover her eggs as kind of a poisonous deterrent against predators. Cantharidin is what we call a topical blistering agent. Once absorbed, it causes skin cells to self-destruct by triggering the release of protein-dissolving enzymes. Gross. Now, the love potion connection to this insect comes from a side effect of ingesting Spanish fly. In addition to liver toxicity, cantharidin also causes a side effect called priapism. Don't Google that. You ever see those Viagra or Cialis commercials? In the part where they talk about side effects that may include an erection lasting more than 4 hours? Yeah, well, that's called priapism. Chuckle all you want, but priapism is no joke. It's excruciatingly painful and requires a trip to the ER. No fun. Interestingly, cantharidin is actually FDA approved under the brand name Ycanth for treating a viral skin infection called molluscum contagiosum. So speaking of FDA-approved drugs, what's the closest thing we have to a modern-day love potion? Probably flibanserin and bremelanotide, Addy and Valisi. Now, both of these drugs are used to increase libido in premenopausal women with hypoactive sexual desire disorder, or HSDD. Sorry, fellas, these drugs are just for the ladies. So Addy is a once-daily tablet, and Vyleesi is a pre-activity subcutaneous injection. Chocolates and flowers are nice too. Well, my time's about up. Just remember, love is the most powerful drug of all. Hope you get to spend this Valentine's Day with someone special. For lots more pharmacy history content, head on over to RxTales.com or subscribe to RxTales on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Back to you, Todd.
This episode is sponsored by Independent Pharmacy Cooperative, widely known as IPC. Established in 1983, IPC is the nation's largest group purchasing organization owned by independent pharmacy. With a mission of maximizing the success of community pharmacists, IPC works to provide members with access to effective programs and services designed to enhance profitability for independent pharmacy. Read more about our mission by checking out our website at ipcrx.com. That's ipcrx.com.
Hey, we are back. We are here at TWIRx, and we're back in the studio. What a special opportunity to broadcast out of Maria's Lovers, as where the home of where that movie took place, and how we kind of preface it with Stephen. You know what's really funny? I met Stephen's from Brownsville. He lives very close to our studio in Fayette County, Pennsylvania. And he contacts me on LinkedIn. We connect. Mrs. Steve Beckman, he's the CEO of Eury Pharma. I cover the NACDS Total Store Expo 2022, or might have been 2021 or 22, one of those years. And up walks this enormous 6'4", blonde-haired, business-looking man, and he's towering over me. I'm sitting down, and he's like, "Hey, do you know who I am?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. You're enormous, though." And so he's like, "Steve Beckman from Eury Pharma." And I'm like, "That's fantastic." I still didn't understand who that was. And he's like, "I'm from Fayette County. Like, I know where you broadcast out of. I'm from Brownsville, and I own Maria Lovers." And it was just like, that was wild. And then he's just been a part of the network and growing with the network ever since. There's another person that I'm bringing on special to this TWIRx episode. It's also tied into the network. The one and only, the Pain Guy, trademark Pain Guy, Mark Garofoli. Welcome to TWIRx.
Thank you, Todd Castor. Love the vibe with all the red.
Heck yeah, look at us. We're vibing. I got the roses ready to go. Like we gotta play the game out there. You can never stop romancing and being romantic and being Valentine-y. And I get that. So it is what it is. And it's part of, I think it's a good practice. And with that, Mark, as a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, it's been awesome to work with you. I've seen so much come from the connections that you've made with the Pain Guy. And if you want to learn more about this, go painguy.us and the Pain Pod. And I've just really appreciated a lot of the connections that you made. You kind of like get it of how important networking is to someone's career. And it means more than just the individual. It means the kind of connection and resource you become to other networks. And I'm thinking of you and Pain Week. So before we get into the future today, just give us a quick update of what's going on for the rest of the year for you.
Well, lo and behold, of course, a decent amount of conferences as far as presentations, attending, and all that this year. Lots of episodes of the Pain Pod coming out towards all of you. A couple other career adventures that are out there as well too. I usually keep folks updated on that website, painguy.us, which, by the way, you could actually message me directly. It'll vibrate my phone. If you do it right now, it's moon and all that, but it's kind of cooler than email because it literally comes to my phone. It doesn't mean I'm going to reply in 3 seconds either, but But to your bigger point there, Todd, yes, it is all about the networking, the relationships. I mean, it's another word for networking per se. So perhaps that fits into what we're talking about here today. So
It does fit into it because I think that the specialness of our profession and what you're going through as a student in pharmacy and that stage of your life, it's all in today's episode. It's baked into what this is all about. Valentine's Day, the celebration of couples in pharmacy. And I want to bring in a very special person in your life to TWIRx. And I don't know if this is Gretchen Garofoli's, Dr. Garofoli's first time on TWIRx or not. Gretchen, welcome.
It is. Thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. It's about time. I knew there would become a day that she would be here, Mark. I should have said something to you long ago and you'd have been like, no, you're crazy. She's not going to come. And I'll be like, yeah, she'll be.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Officially my favorite podcast guest now. I actually got asked that earlier, a week or two for being interviewed on another podcast. And somebody said, oh, like who's your favorite guests or episodes or whatever? Well, those are outdated. Sorry, hosts.
Gretchen, I've known you for a while now, and it's been through obviously knowing Mark first, but we connected because of PPA in Harrisburg, and there's been some other connections. But just in case the listeners don't know, you're married to Mr. Mark Garofoli, aren't you?
Yes, I am. 15 years this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And happy Valentine's Day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I hope you guys have some wonderful plans, and we'll have to talk about that later because I want to jump into this. And that's couples in pharmacy. I mean, you're kind of a real deal story of what this time in your life, extremely stressful time in your life in a whole different universe of time. But talk to our listeners about this. Mark, how did you meet your wife, Gretchen?
Oh, it's like my favorite story. And as I tell our students each year, unless she beats me to it, she usually ends up getting the P1s, but I used to get them first. But anyways, we, in my eyes, it was like straight out of Hollywood. You mentioned the filming in the building earlier or whatnot back in the 80s. But so we're both in Kappa Psi, professional pharmaceutical fraternity, co-ed, with many, many other brothers, 99 hands everywhere. I guess we're technically wearing some of the colors here today, but it's really more so for the Valentine's thing, I'm sure. But anyways, and being in Kappa Psi, if you want to be an active brother, you go to things. And that was something that was individually instilled in both of us throughout our alma mater for our times at Pitt. So basically, we both ended up at the every 2-year national, technically international. They got the Bahamas too, so you could say international. But anyways, the every 2-year big meeting. It was up in Boston. Okay. Lots going on there. Heading there, no idea who she was yet. And then lots of stuff goes on. You got a conference, convention, whatever it is going on. And for my student pharmacists these days, we all grow, we all mature in how we go about things in life. Had fun back in those days. So my buddies and I had a rather large hotel room so that we could accommodate anyone who needed some housing for an early evening and for our own reception or something, basically. Whether or not the fire marshal ends up being involved, it's not part of a love story as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, once I entered back to my room, shared with some buddies, there was just a ton of people everywhere. And I'll never forget. I remember looking across the room, heads everywhere, and it was way across the room actually, and I saw her pretty face. And it just stopped me. Like literally was one of those moments. This is where that like feel good movie thing comes in. Matthew McConaughey could play this much better, or anyone with slightly more hair. But anyway, when I looked across the room, it literally stopped me. I could never replicate that. It's the greatest feeling ever. It was just like something's up here. And I don't know. Where do we take it from there, Wafey?
Yeah, I want to hear from Gretchen. I mean, so he's coming at it from this direction. You guys are like, the chances of meeting each other, the chances of falling in love, the chances of being together as it is today, the statistics are against you. So I think of these two meteors traveling in outer space, and you just happen to hit at the right time. But to the woman side of this, sometimes is a completely different. Sometimes it's more of a mess. But Gretchen, what at that point of that coming into that event, and he makes eye contact with you, you make eye contact with him, like what's going through your mind?
So it was kind of amazing that we hadn't met previously because we went to the same school of pharmacy. We're a couple years apart, so we weren't there at the same time. So it was kind of crazy that we ended up meeting for the first time in Boston. So yeah, he came in that room, and like you said, there were a lot of people there. I was spending time with a lot of my friends, and so that was the first time I actually met him. And even just how small the pharmacy world is. Mark's cousin and his wife were family friends of ours for a number of years. His cousin's wife was actually my dad's relief pharmacist. So I knew his family members for a long time before I ever met him. So we met for the first time in Boston, and then he kept coming around. We met at another meeting in Pittsburgh, and I was one of the few people he knew. His best friend was actually getting engaged that weekend. So I guess I was on Mark entertainment duty and introduced him to more of my friends. And then it just kind of went from there. So he came back, and then we started to officially date a few months later.
All right. Some more background to this story. Gretchen, tell the short story about your father and mother and their connection to pharmacy as well.
So yeah, I guess I was destined to marry a pharmacist. My parents are both pharmacists. They met in pharmacy school at the University of Pittsburgh School of Pharmacy. They were lab partners, so everything was alphabetical at that point in time. And my dad likes to say my mom stole his eyedropper and then stole his heart. So that's where they met, was pharmacy school. And so I guess I was just destined to marry a pharmacist.
It's incredible. You guys are a bunch of nerds. I love it.
Thanks,
our dinner
great.
conversations are super exciting, Todd.
But listen, the nerds, I was a nerd, and the nerds make the best married couples because I think we appreciate more. I don't know, because I didn't get my whole upbringing and how many long-term, insignificant relationships I had as like a 8th grader, and how romantic I was of writing poetry. And so, you see other people and you kind of like want to hang out with them because you're like, you want that vibe because you have to set a vibe in marriage. Marriage is too freaking hard to not like try to set that vibe to flirt with each other and to be funny and not be so serious. But you guys, the reason why I'm bringing that up is I think of your life. I think of how many sleepless nights you've had. I think of you having to get up to get to school, Mark, and get on time. And then I think of Gretchen to get into the community pharmacy and all of the responsibility on your shoulders. And then freaking Mark is traveling all over who knows where in Las Vegas. And now all of a sudden it's like Gretchen needs to go speak somewhere, and she's going back to the school of pharmacy that she's from. And you guys are crazy busy. So how do you keep the romance, and how do you keep this fire burning between each other?
Amen. I don't know, perhaps there's a bit of organized chaos there. Our school of pharmacy dean actually it was like a couple months ago, I think, started this thing where we would give like a "This is me" introduction to other faculty members, especially at different departments, to know what the heck people have going on. And my favorite slide out of that one was, "Here's what I did last year," and there was 12 conferences on there. And then her beautiful face popped up on there, and I'm like, I don't mean this for me. We have 2 young boys. Think about that. It didn't help that some of that tour included like the biggest party places ever. It was Austin, Nashville, New Orleans, and Vegas a couple times. Like, geez, great story for family. But
it's fun.
I don't know. What would you say, wifey? Do we have some intentionality where we just little bit too crazy with the calendar, but it works.
Yeah, and I would say just having your network too. So my parents help with the kids a lot, so that's helpful when he's traveling. So yeah, I think it's just being organized, and we always confirm, okay, where are we going, what conferences, so that we know who's going to be out of town when, so that we don't double book ourselves out of town. We do conference together sometimes. So we go to the APHA annual meeting together.
Yeah.
That's always one. And we try to go to the NCPA meeting together whenever schedules work out with that.
That makes sense. And boy, if that's in a nice place, and if you could, imagine if your planets all aligned, where it's like Gretchen's a speaker, Mark's down in the podcast land, he has his sponsorship. Then all of a sudden we're getting together for dinner. Then all of a sudden it's like the next day, maybe relaxing at the pool, and maybe it's in Orlando or Los Angeles or something. But that, if you could think of like building a time together out of that, that would be wild.
I thought you were going to go one more level and say, oh, and then the kids are there for the rest of it. I'm like, yeah, we did that.
Get them out of here.
That was
fun. They just need to get sometimes.
Wonderful and madness all in one.
They were in Orlando, so we have not taken the kids to another conference since then.
Like Groundhog Day. You got to go once.
That's right. Well, all right. So the generations have drastically changed with dating, communications, falling in love, finding love, moving to the commitment level much faster than what our culture has taught them, that you are, I think they say maybe looking at someone, then you're talking to someone, and I've been so confused at listening to my kids and my godson with his dating nonsense to me. But people see you from the public is watching you because people like this. They like these success stories. It's an ongoing success story because you got to keep committing to it over and over and over again. That's what, marriage and being in love is. But there's a cynicism in today. I feel like in comparison to, like, I knew what my intention was right away, and I didn't really play a game. I'd write a hand note, and I think you're really cute. And would you go? I used to say, would you go with me? I don't even know what that meant, but it was what you'd say as you were like in 5th grade or 4th grade. And now today it's just like, oh, what stage of the relationship are you guys in? Oh, I don't know, this and this over. Well, what do you guys think? Like, what do you think of today's situation with love and relationships and finding love? I wouldn't want to be out there. What do you think?
I think that there's a lot of good that comes with it too, because sometimes people just maybe haven't crossed paths, that just because of their social circles or however they're going about trying to find someone. So I think there is a place for a lot of those newer ways. My sister actually found the love of her life recently, and she's getting married this summer. So we're very excited about that. So they're a success story with one of the dating apps. So I think it can open your doors to new possibilities as well, and help you to meet that someone special.
Perhaps on the younger side too. I mean, we've got 2 young boys. We haven't, thankfully, not entered that realm yet. So we're just keeping up with the 6, 7s of the world and stuff like that until we get our hands really wet.
He did not just say that.
I mean, our kids are going to watch this. One will understand it.
Someday.
He'll be happy.
We'll
report back on that for how the...
Exactly. We'll have Mark give us an update on TWIRx. So I met Nicole, my wife, on Match.com, and Match.com at the time, which this is 14, 15 years ago, it was much different. It was very linear. You filled out a couple very specific things, and then you got a surround. Nothing of like what they're doing today. They're taking AI, and you're allowed to cross-reference your social media, your whatever you want to give it control of, which that's scary, and that could be a whole nother podcast. And then from the analysis, these more expensive platforms are really starting to hone in based on their analysis, who would pair up or who would get together. And there's the humanity part of AI that scares me, that sometimes it's not about the data and the way that the data lines you up or how familiar we're. Sometimes it's a spark that has nothing to do with measuring or metrics or something that you're just connecting with. And, that's what I have with my wife. And what do you think of that in this day and age of the ghost of AI?
I'm sure it could go either way, really. I mean, it's the data will land on some good things, relationships, I'm sure. And I'm pretty sure there's probably still some flops, I would think. I mean, it's not going to be 100%, but, I don't know. It's got to be a tricky. I think one of the first things you said, Todd, was, "Phew, glad I'm already hitched." It's a jungle out there.
I don't want to ever.
I mean, it's if you think about it, we're talking about relationships, personal relationships, but marriage or dating originally, all that stuff. Just in general, for like profession of pharmacy. I mean, I'm old enough to recall the times when it was like, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you. We should connect on LinkedIn or whatever else." Obviously, that's what I'll pick. But now it's like, "Oh, I finally got to meet you after I read all your stuff on there." It's the flip side of that, and it's not good or bad, really. It's just a different. It's perspectives that we have to appreciate of how it all works in the big picture. On the dating scene of it all, thank goodness.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And there's so many memes I've seen that'll show a couple young boys jumping their BMX bike over 6 friends, and they would literally like try to make the jump, and the picture's halfway in the air, and it says, "Thank God we didn't have social media, when we were growing up." And because of all the crap that we would have, like, why would we do that? Like, what was wrong with us?
Whatever that would be would match you with your future.
With your future.
Wow.
Yeah, based on how crazy you were. Yeah, exactly. So you're definitely younger than me, but the Gen X realm of dating was so unique because it was the first to experience the online impact of dating, and how quickly back in the startup of online dating and through internet that it could be easily falsified and then that's why online dating initially got a punchline, more of a comedic negative connotation, was because the original dating apps were based 100% on what you said. So you could literally say anything on these dating apps, and there was no such thing as double checking any of that information. And now today, you could still be a jerk and lie your way through some stuff. But based on some of the new properties that are now tied into AI, as well as searching the internet for you, your pictures, your profiles, whatever you give up to that person, what I think it's doing in some ways, and I see good and bad, Mark, and is it's bringing us to the sincerity mark, or it's bringing us to the trust level if we can assure that the certain things that we want to give up and whatever privacy that you click off on, that you're saying to this person, "Hey, I'm not here to play games. Like I am looking for a forever person, and therefore I'm not looking to hook up right away. I'm not, this is not a me trying to just find somebody to bang for the weekend. Like I'm in search for my life partner that I want to build a life and a future with, and I want to have kids. And if you spelt that out right away, I could see how that could be pretty awesome, because now you are avoiding the opportunity for people to be snake oil saleswomen. Right back on you, Gretchen.
Hey, if your love language is time, it sounds like it would save time then from the wasted date times or the unsuccessful date times or whatever. So.
Well, I'm a big fan of you both. I've enjoyed working with you, Mark, but I think we need to pick on Gretchen more often and get you giving us some feedback.
Sure, it's fun.
Yeah. Well, I really thank you both. Once again, I hope you both have a wonderful Valentine's Day tomorrow and being romantic. And I got to get on the ball because I am not ready for Valentine's Day, to tell you the truth. I've been preoccupied.
Valentine's Day is important,
with work.
but
I
as wifey knows, I believe in the random Tuesdays as well. You got to keep them random, of course, I guess. But, the random other days are important too. So remember those as well. But don't forget Valentine's Day as well.
Did Mark just give up a day of something that's like a frequent thing that you guys are kind of like, this is our day? Is it always Tuesdays?
No, he likes to be random with sending a bouquet of flowers or something when I don't expect it.
You're the best.
So it's like a restaurant. I think they have the best deals on a Tuesday because it's like the most inconsequential day for people. I really don't know the stats on that. So that's why I usually use Tuesday in my state.
Listen, I think there's a new podcast in the work that is How to Stay Happily Married with Dr. Mark Garofoli. And you could just give like quick 10-minute updates about how not to be a jerk.
Keep the pain out. Don't make it painful.
We could charge. I bet you we could charge for that one. How much would our listeners pay per month for marriage advice of Dr. Mark Garofoli? How to stay, what would you call it? How to stay married or how not to be a jerk?
They're hand in hand, I guess.
Hey, I've heard of people making a lot of money doing that, giving just advice and charging for the advice that they've always given their siblings, guy friends, girlfriends, whichever way it goes. And they're making some profits on it. So I think you're onto something, Todd.
Yeah,
it's like you're paralleling the profession of pharmacy. We give our knowledge for free for centuries, and then we're like, wait a minute, we still want to help people, but
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's so funny, Mark, because, and Gretchen, what you just said is true. So there are a bucket of pharmacists out there on a global scale who are making $10,000, $50,000, $250,000 a year in content development that is coming from true knowledge of what they're talking about or what they're representing, or maybe they're doing it with comedy, or maybe they're doing it with, short little snippets. But to have influence and to be paid for that influence, to me, that's part of the future of what's going to happen to the role of the pharmacist, where you're going to pull away from the dispensing because technology can take care of that. And you're going to start concentrating on the patient's chronic issue or preventative issue or whatever that specialty is, and then dial into it.
This just circled right back to pharmacy. I love it.
I couldn't help it. All right. That's enough of this today. This has
the most diverse episode of TWIRx in the history of
this has been the Garofoli's Valentine's Day special, and we were happy to have you. And we will be right back with more TWIRx.
Feeling lost with the complexities of pharmacy accounting?
In pharmacy today, there's so many different, variables and issues that impact the pharmacy books, records, accounting, the profitability of the store, so forth. There's different components of pharmacy that have its own nuances from an accounting standpoint. And so it's tricky. There's no doubt about it.
Ready to take your pharmacy to the next level but don't know where to start? Sykes & Company is here to help. Introducing the RX Assessment. With the RX Assessment, the pharmacy CPAs and advisors at Sykes will do a deep dive into your accounting and tax situation and give you the action steps you need to take your pharmacy to the next level.
If you're interested in, working with a team who understands the industry and how the accounting and tax should really be in a pharmacy, this is your chance to get a under the hood check of what's going on and getting the feedback of any issues or concerns or, again, things we think you're doing really well with.
Get the financial checkup your pharmacy needs and head over to sykes-cpa.com or call 252-482-7644.
Hey, special follow-up to the Pharmacy 50 Awards. I have one of our most influential on TWIRx with me today. So excited about this. We've been wanting to do this for a while. Mr. Larry King, how are you?
Wonderful, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Introduce yourself just in case people aren't watching us on LinkedIn or watching live on YouTube streaming, but if they're just listening to the podcast, tell them, who you are and where your position is within the pharmacy ecosystem, and also what school of pharmacy, what college you went to, what university you went to.
Yeah, thanks. So Larry King, I'm the Vice President of Product Innovation at SureScript. So my role entails e-prescribing, some of our benefit space and patient safety in the pharmacy eco space. So really, I've grown up in pharmacy, so did a long career in retail and then transitioned over into the healthcare technology space, which has been a really fun growth area for me to learn and expand my influence. But started college of pharmacy at St. John's, and so Queens guy, love St. John's basketball. That's been fun to watch, but living in Minneapolis now.
Minneapolis. When I think of So technology is how I entered pharmacy way back as the very first software system in the market that was for long-term care that was built on SQL was SoftWriters back in 2004, for goodness sakes. And it was so important to build out custom workflow and custom, accessing specific information. And that's where I really started from the one and only Shelley Spiro. She taught me about the truth behind the scenes of e-prescribing and what's happened to e-prescribing. You guys have been there from the beginning, like the emphasis or the infrastructure of what is, SureScripts today is you have that stories to tell, and that legacy to kind of build from. So if you could nerd out for a second and think, if there's pharmacists listening and they want to move into technology and be driven more that way, what's the future of being a pharmacist look like in the realm of tech, in the realm of technology?
Yeah, I think of, my early days, my pharmacy career, where 85-90% were paper prescription, and now that coin has really flipped to the exact opposite. And technology was an afterthought. And as I think of the world we're in now, it really is the core to doing our job, right? So as we think about how do we automate, how do we actually make those really difficult workflows simple so you're not wasting your time? And so for me, if technology is being written correctly and used correctly, you don't even hardly know what's happening. And it runs itself, and you have a clean prescription. You have that medication ready for your patient without having to intervene. And that's table stakes, Todd. As I really think about where we're heading as a profession, it's much more about how do we have the correct data to really inform our clinical decision making. And so it's the world of interoperability. It's the ability to have a patient's record and understand, where maybe in the past you had to guess. You were looking at a dose and a quantity. You said, well, it's got to be this diagnosis. And what a disadvantage you are as a clinician to have to be that far back. And so as I kind of think of the world as a technologist, as a pharmacist, it's that enablement. Mm-hmm. and it's a surfacing of key insights at the right time. One of the downsides of technology is that often we just give you everything, and we give you way too much data, and then it becomes useless, and it becomes totally ineffective. And so, future for me is really that right place, right time, so you can make the best informed decision in that moment of clinical workflow.
I think you hit it, and I think the word here is niche. I think it's hey, I'm a pharmacist that is working in pediatrics. I'm looking for specific data on this specific case with this specific drug and this specific situation, neonatal, drill down to see what happened in so many other cases throughout the years of these same instances, and having a powerhouse organization kind of behind the scenes that has access to that data. The data now, we kept saying that word when I was in telecommunications back in the day, when I was in telecom, before the internet. The word data was like this really sexy term, and now it's like, okay, now it's well, how can we get more out of it, and how can we make it predictive, and how can we, and therein lies where I think the technology pharmacist, the technologist pharmacist, the AI driven pharmacist, my Lord, like what they're going to be able to apply and pull out of that data.
It's no longer optional, right? As you think about how you position your career and how you make yourself a pharmacist who's going to be equipped to handle the level of decision making, it to me it's absolutely required.
Yeah, it really is. It gives hope to some of the pharmacists that are at that P2, P3, P4 stage of their pharmacy student lives who might be listening right now, and you're saying, wow, the pharmacy industry in some ways seems to be in a lot of disarray, and it's true that it really is. We have pharmacy deserts, and there's layoffs, and there's everything happening. But that's because of the plate tectonics of what's happening to our entire profession, that it had to change. It had to move to in a different way of the way that pharmacists are being paid, and the way that pharmacists are involved, and the way that pharmacists dig down into clinical trials and disease state management. And I mean, what it should do is open the imaginations up of those P2s and P3s and P4s and just say, there's things that they're going to invent that we've never thought about and that you and I are experiencing today. E-prescribing, when you first said that, I'm old enough to remember, I thought that was still, I would laugh and be like, yeah, it's nice how it was described in a way it was like envisioned, but we had to have people with those visions 20 years ago in order to get it as refined and prepared for what's about to happen with regards to, once again, trusting organizations to control AI. Meaning AI is great, Larry, but if you don't have like a SureScripts, for example, if you guys don't, you already have standards that you did things in compliancy and assurance with NCPDP and everything. You guys have already built the infrastructure that's already trusted. Now we bring in AI, and it's like, okay, organizations that know how to use such a powerful tool and double guess it and triple guess it, to make sure that it's not lying to us, because I've heard about the ChatGPT statistics and things like that. But what do you think of that?
It's real. Yeah, it's real. Sorry to interrupt. It's real. What I think of is taking a big step back. The electronic prescribing a controlled substance is one of those kind of stories that I love to kind of talk about, in that, you would have told me 10, 15 years ago that we would be sending controlled substance over the internet and it would deliver to my pharmacy and I would trust it. I wouldn't have believed you, right? Like the triplicate in New York State was the source of truth, and that's what we used. And to be able to have built that trust where now over 85% of all prescribers send their controlled substance electronically, and it's the gold standard. And if someone comes with a controlled substance on a paper, you almost distrust it. And so that paradigm shift to me is the same journey we're going to be on with AI, in that right now we are skeptical, and for good reason, as you think of the hallucinations and the pieces that are there. But as we refine it and do set up that governance model and really do that due diligence to make sure it's used correctly, it will be the only thing you trust, because it's the only way you're going to be able to get through your day.
Yep. I love it. Promise me, Mr. Pharmacy 50 alumni, that you'll be coming back to TWIRx at some point, and we can dig into other spooky sides of pharmacy and fun sides of pharmacy. And I want to hear more innovation stories too. So promise you'll come back.
I'd love to. These are great conversations.
All right. We'll be right back for more TWIRx. Hold on.